Hi guys, Sky News and its viewers got schooled by Ian Dunt from the newspaper on both the problems facing a future Labour government when it came to the current fiasco over the Bibby Stockholm, which began taking its first asylum seekers this week, and the fact that the Tory government has basically given up on processing asylum claims, which has meant that they've loaded up hotels, military bases and now barges with people seeking refuge in Britain. Labour have come under fire recently for saying that they would continue to operate the barges if they are still in use when they take power. But have a listen to what Ian had to say about that.
Meanwhile, Ian, though, Labour are saying that actually, if they were to come into power, that they wouldn't stop housing people on the Bibby Stockholm. So is it difficult for them to keep almost justifying policies, saying that they will keep policies that they have protested against in the past?
I don't understand what else they could have possibly said. I mean, the interview was with Sky, right? He sort of said, look, it'll be 6 months, it'll take us to work through this. We don't believe in keeping them on barges. We don't believe in keeping them in hotels. We want to start processing the claims, but I can't make a promise to you about day one. I'm quite open to criticising Labour on all sorts of policy areas, whether being sufficiently unimaginative or lacking in courage. But it seems to me like, what else could you possibly say? If you say that on the first day we're going to empty out all these barges, empty out all the hotels, we know that's not true. We know it's not practical. He said, look, it's going to be about 6 months. It seemed like a completely reasonable answer to me, and I was surprised by the degree of sort of negative press coverage over it.
I think it was Stephen Kinnock who said it, and that's who he's talking about. But it makes sense. A Labour Party, when they take over, they can't just dump people on the street. They can't move people into tents. What they'll do is they'll maintain these facilities, these hotels, and probably these barges, because the Tories are not reducing the numbers. They don't seem interested in actually processing claims. So I think we're going to see more barges. And the Labour Party, when they take over, they're going to be stuck with this. And it would be inhumane just to dump people onto the street for some political reason. Like, I don't want to see these barges, and I think most reasonable people don't want to see refugees and asylum seekers on barges. They want to see them moved into regular accommodation. But no Labour government would be able to achieve that from day one. So they're saying 6 months. If they can bring down the asylum claim backlog, then they can start moving people out of this emergency accommodation and into regular accommodation, I imagine.
What is the problem in your mind, Ian, about these barges, or would you say in the Labour Party's mind about these barges? Because they have been used successfully in Germany and in the Netherlands. It's not a prison ship.
No, but the trouble is that we're not processing any of the claims. I mean, if you were processing claims, you pick the accommodation. We used to put asylum seekers in pretty terrible rented accommodation, then hotels, now barges. Why? Because we started to fail on the processing of the claims. What's the latest piece of legislation that just got passed, the illegal migration bill, is that we're not even going to process the claims at all. We're going to give up on having any asylum claims processed. So we cannot send them to Rwanda because it's unlawful. We cannot send people back to European countries because we have no returns agreements. We can't send them back to their country of origin because we refuse to process the claim. So what have we got? We've just got a situation where we're just going to dump people in barges, in cheap hotels, in the middle of nowhere, with no idea of what we're going to do to them. So the real problem is not so much the barges themselves, although they make for a pretty grim sight, it's the fact that we have no plan of what we are actually trying to achieve.
Completely correct. When it comes to these barges being used in the past, the Sky News journalist here was, they've been used in Germany and in the Netherlands. Generally, when they've been used in the past, it's to deal with overflow. It's not used as a deterrent. Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick and Rishi Sunak, to a certain extent, have said this barge is to be used as a deterrent. It's not to deal with overflow. Like, when it came to Germany, I think it was back in the early 2000s, or mid-2000s, it was a case of massive numbers of refugees were coming in from Syria, from other parts of the Middle East, and Germany wasn't able to cope. So they had to find emergency accommodation. But this was not to punish people. This was to deal with overflow. And eventually, as they were able to process claims and move people around, they were able to move people off the barges. The idea of the barges and this type of emergency accommodation in regular countries, unlike, this crazy Tory Britain mentality, is that it's about reducing, is about dealing with the backlog that you want to reduce. The Tories don't want to reduce the backlog. They're not investing any resources to deal with that. Now, some may say it's for political reasons, that it's about trying to maintain this issue of immigration, or it could be a case of they want to leave a disaster for the Labour Party to take over and then criticise from the sidelines. It could be a bit of both, because they clearly do not want to bring down the backlog. They want to just punish asylum seekers. They want to encourage racists and bigots to egg them on, to support them. But they're not processing the claims, and they're not investing the resources necessary. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.